You know that feeling when someone criticizes you and you immediately feel your whole body tense up? Like your heart starts racing, your jaw clenches, and you're ready with your defense before they've even finished their sentence? Yeah, that's your ego. And the thing is, that same ego that's trying to protect you, it's also the thing standing between you and actual emotional intelligence. I'm going to show you exactly how these two are connected, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand why the emotionally intelligent people aren't the ones who kill their ego. They're the ones who learn to work with it. Let's be honest here. Most of us were taught that having a big ego is bad, right? Like, check your ego at the door, or don't let your ego get in the way. We hear this stuff all the time. But here's what nobody tells you. And this is so important. Your ego isn't your enemy. It's actually trying to help you. The problem is that it's really bad at its job. And so what I want you to do right now is think about the last time you got defensive, like really defensive. Maybe it was feedback from your boss. Maybe it was your partner pointing something out. Maybe it was just someone on Twitter disagreeing with you. Whatever it was, hold that moment in your mind, because when this video ends, you're gonna understand exactly what was happening in your brain in that moment, why it happened, and this is a big one, how to stop it from controlling you. And stick around until the end, because I'm going to give you one specific technique that you can literally use today to catch your ego before it hijacks your emotional intelligence. This one technique changed everything for me. So let me start with this. Here's where your ego actually is. And I know this isn't how most of us were raised, but your ego is basically your brain's security system. That's it. It's that part of you that's constantly scanning for threats to your sense of self. Like, think about it. When someone says, hey, you messed this up, your ego doesn't hear helpful feedback. It hears, you're not good enough. You're inadequate. You're gonna be rejected. And so what does this do? It protects you. It throws up the defenses. It comes up with excuses. It blames other people. It gets angry. It shuts down. You know what I mean? But here's why this matters for emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, and studies show this, is basically your ability to recognize emotions in yourself and others, and then use that information to guide your thinking and behavior. The reason why is because you can't do any of that if your ego is in full defense mode. You just can't. It's like trying to have a calm, rational conversation while someone's blaring an alarm in your ear. Your ego is that alarm, and when it's going off, emotional intelligence just goes out the window. Now, this is where it gets really good. The connection between your ego and emotional intelligence isn't what most people think. Most people are like, oh, if I just get rid of my ego, I'll be emotionally intelligent, right? Like, we think it's one or the other, but that's not it at all. Listen, most emotionally intelligent people still have egos. Of course they do. They're human. But here's the difference, and this is huge. They've learned to notice when their ego is activated before it takes over. You see the difference? It's not about killing your ego. It's about creating space between the ego, the reaction, and your actual response. That space, that tiny pause, that's where emotional intelligence lives. And so what happens is, when you can recognize, oh, my ego just got triggered, you can then choose a different response. You're not reacting from that defensive place anymore. You're responding from a place of actual awareness. Let me give you a real example. Let's say your partner says to you, you never listen to me. Your ego immediately goes, what? I always listen. That's so unfair. What about all the times, blah, blah, blah. You feel that? That's the ego doing its thing. But if you've got emotional intelligence working, there's this moment where you go, wait, my ego just activated. Let me pause. What is my partner actually trying to communicate right now? What emotion are they feeling? See, same trigger, completely different outcome. And that's really important, because that's how you actually stay connected to people instead of pushing them away. Here's what I mean by that. When your ego is running the show, you're basically in survival mode. Your brain thinks you're under attack, so it's doing whatever it can to protect you. Fight, flight, freeze, all of that. But emotional intelligence requires you to be in a completely different state. It requires curiosity, openness, vulnerability, and you can't be curious when you're defending. You can't be open when you're attacking. You can't be vulnerable when you're building walls. This is why people with huge egos but zero self-awareness are so bad at relationships, whether that's at work, whether that's with their family, whatever it might be. They're trapped in this constant cycle of defend, attack, and they don't even know they're doing it. Okay, so now you might be thinking, all right, I get it, but how do I actually do this? Like, how do I catch my ego before it takes over? And this is where it gets practical. Neuroscience tells us that there's about a 90-second window when an emotion gets triggered. Like, you feel that rush of defensiveness, that surge of anger, whatever it is, it physically moves through your body in about 90 seconds if you don't feed it. The problem is most of us feed it. We grab onto that feeling and we run with it. We start building a story. They always do this. They never appreciate me. I can't believe they said that. And so the emotion that should have lasted 90 seconds is now a 90-minute spiral or a 90-day grudge. You know what I mean? But here's the technique, and I'm going to give this to you right now because it's so good. When you feel that ego activation, you want to name it out loud if you can, or in your head if you're in public. Just literally say, my ego is activated right now. That's it. That's the whole technique. And I know that sounds too simple, but check this out. The moment you name it, you create separation. You're no longer your ego. You're the person observing your ego. And that observation, that's the beginning of emotional intelligence. It's like instead of being swept away by the current, you're suddenly standing on the shore watching the current flow by. Does that make sense? I used to think I was just a defensive person. Like, that was just my personality. Someone would give me feedback and I would immediately get prickly. I'd argue, I'd justify it, I would make excuses. And then a mentor once told me, that's not you. That's your ego trying to protect you from feeling inadequate. And that one sentence changed it all, because now when I feel that prickly feeling, I can go, oh, there it is. That's my ego. And it thinks I'm under attack, but I'm not actually under attack. This is just feedback, right? And so I can breathe and I can create that space. I can actually listen to what's being said instead of defending against what I think is being said. That's how you build emotional intelligence, not by getting rid of your ego, but by learning to recognize it and work with it. Now, here's one more thing you need to know about this, and it's something most people miss. Your ego doesn't just protect you from external criticism, it also protects you from internal discomfort. Like, let's be real. Sometimes the reason you can't be emotionally intelligent with someone else is because you haven't been emotionally intelligent with yourself. You know, when you're scrolling through Instagram and you see someone succeeding at something you wanted to do, and you immediately feel that pang of jealousy, and then your ego jumps in with, well, they're probably lucky, or that's not even that impressive, or I could do that if I wanted to. Yeah, that's your ego protecting you from feeling the discomfort of your own insecurity. And so you never actually process the real emotion, the envy, the fear, the self-doubt. You just cover it up with ego-driven thoughts. And then you wonder why you're not more emotionally mature. Here's the thing about emotions, and this is really important. They're just information, that's all. That's all they are. They're signals from your body and your brain telling you something. But when your ego gets involved, it turns that information into a threat. And so instead of going, I'm feeling jealous right now, I wonder what that's about. Maybe I'm not pursuing something I actually want. You go, I'm fine. They're the problem. I don't even care anyway. And that's why emotional intelligence starts with self-awareness. You've got to be willing to feel your own feelings without your ego jumping in to save you from them. I messed this up for years. Like, I would feel anxious about something and my ego would immediately be like, you're not anxious, you're just busy. Anxiety is for weak people. You're fine. And so I never dealt with the anxiety. I just pushed it down. And you know what happens when you push emotions down? They don't go away. They just leak out sideways. They come out as irritability, as insomnia, as weird physical symptoms, as snapping at people for no reason. Anyway, the point is you can't be emotionally intelligent with others if you're not emotionally honest with yourself first. And being emotionally honest means catching your ego when it tries to protect you from uncomfortable truths about yourself. So now you know the real relationship between ego and emotional intelligence. It's not that one is good and one is bad. It's that your ego is a tool that's either working for you or working against you, depending on whether you're aware of it. You know the three things that change everything. Number one, your ego is your brain security system trying to protect you from threats to your sense of self. Number two, emotional intelligence isn't about eliminating your ego. It's about creating space between ego activation and your actual response. And number three, you can't be emotionally intelligent with others until you're emotionally honest with yourself. The technique I gave you, just naming it when your ego gets activated, start using it today, like literally today. The next time you feel defensive, the next time you feel that surge of, I need to prove I'm just right, just pause and say, my ego is activated. Watch what happens. Now that you understand how your ego and your emotional intelligence are connected, the next step is understanding how to set boundaries effectively. I've got a whole video on that exact topic. Click the video on your screen right now to learn the 4-step boundary method I use. You're going to want to see this one.